You know, it's a pleasure to have actually my old buddy, Curtis Sliwa, on the program. Curtis Sliwa is running for mayor as a Republican in New York, and given all the really bizarre things going on the Democrat side, he has a real chance. And Curtis, welcome, and I want to talk to you first before we get into your situation. Zohran Mamdani. This guy has promoted international terrorism, hasn't he? Let's be blunt.
Yes, he has. And more importantly, Mark, he and his followers are out there, hipsters and millennials. They've been working hard the streets. They've been going round the clock. And unfortunately, the other Democrats, especially Andrew Cuomo, has basically run a rose garden strategy, has not been out in the streets, and expected people just to come out because of his name to elect him. And I think you're going to see quite a shock, a changing of the generational guard, because most of us baby boomers, if you've lived in New York City, you've either fled to Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Texas, Tennessee, or parts unknown, or unfortunately you may have passed away. So I don't think Team Cuomo has factored that in, and there's a very real chance with ranked choice voting that this guy, Zohran Mamdani, will win the Democratic primary, and then I will have to face him in the general election.
Well, there's still voting in New York going on right now, and this is the biggest show in New York. What do you want to tell your fellow citizens? I mean, it might be easier to beat that guy, but the fact is you don't want any party nominating a radical. He's a Marxist, Islamist like this in the greatest city. Look, I'm not originally in New York. I'm a Philadelphian, but it is what it is. The greatest city in America.
I think what you have to say, Mark, is what this candidate stands for when it comes to dealing with the key issues, which continues to be law and order and quality of life. He would eliminate prisons. He would not incarcerate anyone. He would not hire any police. But it is interesting, do as I say, not as I do. He and his team say that they are under threat, so they are protected by armed guards. But rather than hire trained professional police officers for the city, for average citizens, he wants social workers. So what I've suggested, Mark, is wait, if you're under attack, why don't you surround yourself with social workers? And you know, Mark, we just passed the anniversary of June 19th, 1992, where I was shot 5 times with hollow point bullets on the orders of John Gotti Sr., the John Gotti Jr., and the Gambino crime family. I know what it's like to live under a threat. But I tell you this much, I would not be surrounding myself with social workers. So this guy, again, double standard. He's protected by armed off-duty police officers now, but he recommends that the people not have police, but that they have social workers.
But it's... What would happen in New York if a guy like this gets elected?
It'd be massive flight. So for all the people who have already fled to other parts of the country, you would see not only a drain in terms of equity, in terms of investment, in terms of business, but people who are holding on, hoping that things will get back on track, hoping that we can go back to when it was, when we had Rudy Giuliani as mayor, when we had George Pataki as governor, when we had Michael Bloomberg as our mayor, and we had no chaos and corruption. Those who are willing to sort of stick it out. My whole campaign team is improve, don't move. Elect me, and you won't have to flee. Elect Curtis Sliwa, and you won't have to flee. And I think that's why so many people's hopes are now invested in me, that I can do what unfortunately Eric Adams did not do, did not deliver on his promises. Our city just got worse. And obviously the Democrats would make it that much worse, Zohran Mamdani and Cuomo. But remember, they all get to run in the general election. No matter who wins the Democratic primary, they all have independent lines, and they all have to face off with me. And I am going to be relentless, Mark. I'm going to be reminding them. I warned them all about Eric Adams, said he would be corrupt and we would have chaos. Unfortunately, I was correct. And I warned them about Andrew Cuomo, who fled Albany when he feared impeachment. And he's the reason we're in the absolute catastrophe that we are now with no cash bail, which he has doubled down on. He does not want anybody arrested and charged with bail and remanded to jail. So basically, they're they're all into this mentality, Mark, to simplify it for your national audience. They would like us to continue to lock up toothpaste in our local drugstores as opposed to lock up criminals.
We're talking about this Islamist who's also a Marxist, and he embraced the international intifada. He says it's just a statement by the Palestinians. No, it's not. It's a war cry of terrorism internationally. And if this guy's elected, I can assure you Jews and others are going to leave that city like there's no tomorrow. Curtis Sliwa was trying to fight this. He would be a very rational and solid alternative. So, Curtis Sliwa, I just want to understand. Let's say he wins the Democrat nominee, or even Cuomo does. They're also running on third-party tickets, meaning they're still going to be available for people to vote for. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. So it really doesn't matter who wins or loses tonight in the Democratic primary. You'll have Cuomo on one line. You'll have Mamdani on another line. You'll have Eric Adams, who has no party line but an independent line. And then I have a special icebreaker line in addition to being the Republican candidate. You're going to like this, Mark, and all your listeners. You, as maybe one of the greatest pet lovers of all time who's ever done radio, the first ever Protect Animals line. No kill shelters, and we put animal abusers in jail. We prioritize that. This is an issue that people who disagree with one another agree. Mm-hmm. We all love animals. Look at what the Trump administration has said. No more Dr. Fauci-style testing on animals. Look what Governor DeSantis just did in Florida. You abuse animals, especially in the time of a natural emergency, you're going to jail. The Republicans have led on this. And as you know, I and my wife, we've been rescuing animals for years. Mm-hmm. And if you don't treat animals well, you don't treat people well. And look at New York City with all of our homeless and emotionally disturbed. Mark, that's going to stop. We're taking care of our Americans who are in need. We found $6 billion for migrants that supposedly we didn't have. We're starting to take care of our veterans, our homeless, our emotionally disturbed, and most importantly, our animals.
The other thing is, Curtis, you are well known, have a history of law and order, a history of law and order, a community policing, this sort of thing, with the guardian angel. So you would hit the ground running. You would hit the ground running, knowing what you need to do. You'd be able to work with the NYPD. They originally were very skeptical of you. Not anymore. They embrace you. And so you are a quintessential New Yorker. You're not interested in revolution. You're not interested in advancing some kind of ideology. You want the city to work and you want it to prosper again, right?
Absolutely. And remember, I've been doing this for 46 years with volunteers who've done what at a time trained professional police officers were not permitted to do or couldn't do because we didn't have enough. You remember right before Christmas, the most horrible situation that I've ever witnessed in the subways or experienced, when that woman was set on fire by that migrant. The police did not respond. The citizens did not respond. That poor soul twisted like a melting candle. And because we had a pyromaniac migrant that we were paying $400 a night to put up and give him culturally appropriate food, that's going to stop, Mark. We're going to make sure that the subways are safe for everyone, especially so many of the women who are part of the workforce who won't use the subways any longer because they fear being attacked or having men come up and be the pervs that they are in the subway with no ramifications, with no consequences.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you'd be a tremendous mayor. And I also think this Islamist, and that's what he is, not a Muslim, he's an Islamist. In some ways, almost a jihadist, but he's a Marxist Islamist. Exactly what's wrong with what's going on in America. He's an apologist. He reminds me of this guy that's the mayor of London, whose name escapes me. Another radical. And with radicals, follow radicals. And can you imagine New York City, Curtis Sliwa, being a sort of a breeding ground or attraction to more and more radicals from throughout the country and throughout the world, settling in New York City because of this guy opening his arms wide? No doubt the propaganda he would use, no doubt the policies that he would put in place to accommodate them, don't you think?
For sure, because as good men, good women flee New York City in record numbers, you know who they're going to be replaced by? People from across the country who believe in a radical, progressive, liberal ideology. They will come to New York City. They will not be happy until they take down the flag of capitalism, the flag of the United States, and replace it with socialism. And that ain't happening, Mark, over my dead body. It's not happening.
I'm very excited. I'm excited if you can get in there. What a complete change it would be from the ineptitude of the current mayor, from the communist radicalism of the prior mayor. New York needs a solid, good mayor who's going to run the city as efficiently and effectively as possible and do what a mayor needs to do, protect the citizenry and keep the streets clean. That's you. God bless. And I've endorsed you, obviously. I've endorsed Sliwa. Probably help you in some places and hurt you in others. But nonetheless, Curtis, God bless you. You're a good man, brother.
Well, thank you. And all the Levinites out there, the way they can help me is to contribute to my campaign because I've gotten a late start. Just go to sliwafornyc.com, sliwafornyc.com, and I will improve New York City so that all of these folks don't move down into your areas and turn your states purple. You don't want that to happen, Mark.
No, but that's very good that you mentioned that. Anybody who can help him, please help him, because what a fantastic night that would be if Curtis Sliwa is elected mayor. Take care of yourself, Curtis.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, brother.